"If I were you," he said, sounding more composed, "I would focus elsewhere. Let me tell you this for free. My father was keeping a lot of secrets, and if you dig too deep, I assure you, you just might end up like him." The coldness in his voice sent a cold shiver down her spine. She looked at Musa, the both of them wondering if that was a warning or a threat. It was a cold day. It had rained all night, and the aftermath of the rain was a chilly September morning. One of those mornings that will have you wishing you could spend the whole day holed up in bed. The busy streets of Lagos, always full of life, even in the early hours of the day, was unusually quiet. A thick mist hanging in the humid air. Detective Nkem Okoro's phone buzzed on her nightstand, rousing her from a light sleep. Swearing at whoever it was that was trying to cut short her sweet sleep, she picked up her phone and stared at the screen. Immediately, her senses were jolted awake. Fully alert as she reads the message, "A high-profile murder in Ikoyi. She's needed immediately." The name makes her heart skip. Chief Adebayo Balogun, one of Lagos's wealthiest men. Without wasting time, she jumped off her bed and quickly took a hot bath to loosen up her bones. And in less than 15 minutes, she was behind the steering of her modest Toyota Camry car. Detective Nkem Okoro, a young woman in her early 30s, is the first and only child of the late Detective Nnamdi Okoro. Right from when she was a little girl, she had watched her father do what he knew how to do best. And even as she grew older, she would listen to him as he shared some of his cases with her, and she would offer intelligent ideas that worked almost every time. It was not surprising when she went into the police force, following after the footsteps of her father. And just like him, she was very good at what she does, and as a result has not only earned her respect in the police force, but has also made a name for herself, despite being a woman. The journey had not been easy at all, especially because she was a woman, and Nkem was determined not to hide in her father's shadow and rise off his name. She worked hard to get to the heights she had attained, and her skills, coupled with her intelligence, was exceptional. For her, no case was impossible to crack. Probably because of the rain, coupled with the fact that it was a weekend, the roads that morning were unusually free, and in less than an hour, Detective Okoro drove into the mansion, where the flashing lights of police cars bounced off the marble facade. Nkem's partner and longtime friend, Inspector Musa, upon sighting her, moved forward towards her direction as she got down from her car. "What's the situation, Musa?" "It's bad. Come and see," he said, as he briskly led her to where Chief Balogun's body was found. Nkem and her partner, Inspector Musa, entered the grand study where Chief Balogun sat slumped in his armchair. His eyes were closed as though he is merely sleeping. There were no signs of struggle, no visible wounds. Only the faint smell of his expensive cologne lingering in the room. Nkem's sharp eyes scanned through the big room, her eyes catching subtle details. A tipped-over glass of scotch, another half-empty glass with a faint smear of red lipstick on its tip, and a recently accessed safe lying slightly ajar. A woman was here with him, she said to Musa, stating the obvious. I thought so too. But the problem is that the only female in this house is his wife, and she happened to be out of town at the time of the murder. She only just got back this morning. Musa responded calmly. With the way things were going, he knew that they were going to have a very long day. Nkem sighed. This was one of those cases filled with dead ends. But as usual, she was determined to see this case till the end. She moved towards the open safe, scanning through its contents. Inside the safe, she found documents, some marked with confidential seals, and then a small key with an unmarked tag. She looked at the key. Her curiosity piqued. Find Emmanuel, she said to Musa. This key definitely opens something very important, and if we must know what this key opens, we need him. For the meantime, I need to speak with every member of this household, including the staff. As Inspector Musa leaves, Nkem stepped into the mansion's main hall. Taiwo is the chief's only son. He is a rough yet handsome-looking young man in his mid-30s. Taiwo was known for his reckless and lavish lifestyle. He was a die-hard habitual gambler, and no matter what anyone says, Taiwo would never stop. His father had tried so hard to bring him into the family business, but Taiwo was bent on living a wayward life. However, Taiwo had not always been this way. At one point, he was a fine, intelligent young boy with big dreams. But then, his mother died in a plane crash when he was 14. At that time, he was hurting so badly and needed comfort. But his father did not seem to notice his grief, for he was also grieving. He immersed himself into his business, and Taiwo, who had previously lost his twin brother earlier in life, was left to handle his grief alone. The young boy turned into the streets for comfort and fell into bad company. When Chief noticed what was going on, the boy had gone far. Chief bundled his son abroad, away from the bad company he surrounded himself with. But it was too late. Taiwo went abroad and continued living recklessly. He started to gamble and chasing women. In fact, any money his father sent to him, he gambled away. Until Chief decided to stop sending money. Taiwo, in a bid to make more money, started pushing drugs. Eventually, he was caught. He served 5 years jail time and was only released after his father paid a hefty sum of $5 million. Afterwards, he was deported back to Nigeria. Upon his return, he was still wayward and refused to be useful. The boy had grown into a damaged man. This morning, as Detective Nkem walks in on him, she watches him pace nervously. He's dressed in expensive clothing, but his appearance is disheveled, his eyes bloodshot. "I'd like to have a word with you, Mr. Balogun," Nkem said, keeping her voice as calm as possible. "Look, Detective," Taiwo said, looking at her through his bloodshot eyes. "I did not kill him. I was out with my guys. I only just got back to meet this whole scene. If you want, I could give you a few of my friends' phone numbers. They will confirm I was with them the whole night." "I have not even said anything, and you are already getting all defensive," Nkem said, staring into his eyes without batting an eye. "Which makes me wonder if there is something you are truly hiding. But I want you to know this. Whatever it is that you are hiding, I will find it." Leaving Taiwo visibly shaken, Nkem moved to find the late chief's widow. By this time, the forensic team were already on ground, wheeling the chief's body away for further examination. According to them, Chief Balogun died sometime past midnight, but the actual cause of his death had not been determined. Ifeoma, the chief's much younger wife, is a strikingly beautiful woman, also in her early 30s. But looking at her, you would think she was in her early 20s. She was not just Chief Balogun's wife. She was his prized possession, and he did not hesitate to show her off whenever he got the chance. She went with him to every social gathering, and Chief Balogun would swell with pride as everyone stared at the beautiful creature perched by his side. But this morning, she was not her usually cheerful self. As she sat in the big living room with her back straight, she seemed so distant, her grief almost too calm. Nkem approached her, reminding herself to tread with caution. "Good morning, Mrs. Balogun," she said, offering a slight smile to ease the tension. "Do you mind if I sit?" she asked when Ifeoma nodded in response to her greetings. "Of course I don't mind," Ifeoma responded quietly. Nkem took a seat in front of the woman. "I'm so sorry for your loss, Mrs. Balogun, but I would like to ask you a few questions. Is that okay?" Ifeoma nodded, her expression still blank. "Can you tell me where you were by 12 a.m. this morning?" Ifeoma looked up at the detective. "Am I being suspected for having a hand in my own husband's murder, Detective? Do I need to get my lawyer?" "There's no cause for alarm, Mrs. Balogun," Nkem replied, still fixing her gaze on her. "This is just procedure." Having said that, Ifeoma revealed that she had attended a friend's wedding at Ibadan and had only just gotten back that morning. However, her vague response raises Nkem's suspicions, especially when she notices the bright red lipstick the woman was wearing. She looked at Ifeoma with eyes that could pierce into anyone's soul. But the woman did not flinch. Deep down, Nkem knew that there was something big at play here, but she could not place her finger on it. But whatever it was, she knew that this woman had something to do with it. As she walked out of the mansion, she made a mental note to speak with the security men. But that also proved futile. They all confirmed that Mrs. Ifeoma Balogun was nowhere close to the mansion on that very day. Feeling all shades of edgy, Nkem walked outside the mansion's gate where she had parked her car earlier, and what she saw there stopped her in her tracks. There, standing as tall and handsome as ever, was Kola. Her heart started to beat faster, and her tummy started to feel funny. This is not the right time for this to be happening, she said to herself. Gathering her morale, she walked straight to where he was standing. So, to what do I owe this august visit? She asked, her face void of any emotion. Kola smiled. But this is September already. Stop it, Kola. Don't patronize me, she interrupted, wiping the smile out of his face. Okay, calm down, he replied, his expression now serious. I tried to get in, but the security men would not let me. I need to speak with you, urgently. Kola, please, this is not the right time. I'm in the middle of a serious case. Besides, I've made it clear to you that we have nothing to talk about. Nkem responded, trying to sound as calm as possible. Stop, Nkem, and listen to me for once. This is not about us. You see this case, It's bigger than you think it is. Something very huge is going on underground, and I have proof. Kola is a very handsome young man in his late 30s, single to stupor and not searching for love. Kola likes to think of himself as the voice of the people. He is a pseudo-journalist whose pen has fearlessly fought many battles in the country and uncovered truths that had been thought impossible to unravel. However, Kola and Detective Nkem shared a past that the both of them had been unable to recover from. They were high school sweethearts, young lovers. But unfortunately, Kola's parents wanted him to go abroad and study medicine, even though he had no interest in it. But Kola had no control over himself. He traveled abroad, leaving his love behind. Years later, he has gotten a degree in medicine, but still went ahead to pursue a degree in journalism, just as he had always wanted. Now, he was back to Nigeria, hoping to reunite with his Nkem. But she wanted nothing to do with him. He knew that she still felt something for him, but he also knew that she was still hurting. As he stood there looking at her, he knew that he could never, ever love another woman as much as he loved her. He wished that she could give him just one chance to explain himself to her. But like she said, now was not the right time to go into all of that. And that was truly not why he was there. Look, I know you are really busy, but find a place and time There's something I want you to see. He seemed serious, so even though she had questions on her mind, she decided to give him audience. Any information she could get could help the case. They both drove in their separate cars to a small restaurant right there in Ikoyi. She had not had breakfast, so it would be like killing two birds with one stone. Once inside, she went straight to the point. So tell me what you know. Listen, I have evidence linking the chief to a controversial land acquisition deal, one that would have displaced hundreds of Lagosians in Badagry. And I think that someone very powerful may have silenced Balogun to protect their own interests. And how do you know this? Nkem asked, her 5 senses already at alert. I know this because 2 days ago, Chief Balogun contacted me. He wanted to tell me something, for according to him, he feared for his life and wanted the public to know what happened should anything happen to him. He sent some documents to my mail and we were supposed to meet today, but then he turns out dead. Nkem sighed. This was getting more complicated than she thought. This new information made so much sense, but things were not adding up. See, Kola, we found an extra glass of unfinished drink on Chief's desk, and it had a lipstick stain on it. The red color matches the one his wife was wearing. I think she has something to do with this, and his son too. He's acting suspicious. This all looks so tangled, she said, a deep frown forming on her forehead. Listen to me carefully, Nkem. I also want to get to the root of this matter, so I propose we work together on this one, Kola said, sounding as convincing as he could. Hell no, Nkem interjected. I'm not working with you. Never. For the umpteenth time, Nkem, this is not about us. I do not doubt your ability, but you need me as much as I need you right now. Let's keep this professional and do our job. At the end of the day, it's a win-win situation, Kola said. Nkem looked at him, her eyes defiant. Fine, but do your best to keep your distance. Kola smiled at her, showing off his perfect set of teeth. You have nothing to worry about, detective. Give me your email address and I will send the documents to you ASAP. That being said, Kola got up and walked out of the restaurant. It was 2 p.m. by the time Detective Nkem Okoro walked into the station. Musa was already waiting with the reports she wanted. What do you have for me, Musa? I ran the key by Emmanuel and it opens a safe deposit box in a bank. But then I also found something more interesting. We went through Chief's phone and we saw that a sum of 30 million naira was moved from his account in the early hours of this morning, and the recipient was his son. This may not be a problem ordinarily. However, it is a problem because the transaction was done a few hours after Chief Balogun's death. Oh boy, Nkem sighed. How complicated can this get? Musa raised an eyebrow. Did you find something? Sit, Nkem said, pointing to a chair in front of her. And when he did, she told him all about her encounter with Kola earlier that day. Do you think you can trust him? Musa asked, his face showing concern. Yes, I trust Kola. We've come from way back. I'll go through the documents we got from Chief's place later tonight and compare them with Kola's own. I'll see what I can find. Meanwhile, find that safe deposit box. I want to know what's inside. Sure, Musa said as he stood up to leave. At home that night, Nkem pored over her notes, replaying the day's discoveries. She brought out the document she retrieved from Chief's safe that day, and everything in that document further proves what Kola had said earlier that day. It was a document for an estate housing project in Badagry. The project contained 10 signatories, and 9 signatures were already appended, except Chief Balogun's signature. Still unsure of what she was looking at, she quickly went through the documents Kola had sent, and they were exactly the same. This could only mean one thing. Chief obviously wanted out of the deal, and someone did not want him out alive. As she packed the documents, a paper fell out. Curious, she picked it up and opened it. It was a note, obviously written by Chief Balogun himself, detailing his suspicions. He felt his life was in danger, and he feared betrayal from someone close to him, whose name he did not mention. The note ends cryptically, referring to them as the people who claim to be my family, but hunger for my downfall. He wrote that he was planning to expose these individuals, but did not know who to trust. Just as Nkem was still trying to decipher what she had just read, her phone beeps. It was Musa. It's late, Musa. What is the problem? She asked, sounding irritated. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I found something. The key indeed leads to a safe deposit box in the Atlantic Bank, belonging to Chief Balogun, and inside it is his will. Nkem looked confused. Why would he keep his will in a safe deposit box? Good question, Musa responded, sounding almost too excited to share his findings. He willed everything he owned to charity. His son was entirely cut off from his inheritance, and his wife is only entitled to the house. Every other thing he owned, money, lands, properties, both home and abroad, he willed to charity, Musa concluded. That's strange. Have you contacted his lawyer? Nkem asked. Yes. He opened the will himself. Now, here's the main gist. According to his lawyer, Chief knew that his wife was having an affair, although he does not know who the man is. He realized that she was with him only for his money, and so he cut her off too, only letting her keep the house they lived in. Nkem sighed. This is getting more interesting. But If the will is safely locked away, then neither his wife nor his son is aware of its contents. Exactly my thoughts, Musa said. But what if someone else knew? That could be it, Nkem replied. But let's not draw conclusions yet, she concluded. First thing tomorrow morning, we will speak with Taiwo Balogun again. We need answers. Alright, we'll see tomorrow, Musa responded and ended the call. After the conversation, Nkem packed everything together into a file and went straight to bed. But she could not find sleep. The events of the day kept playing through her head. Finally, her thoughts rested on Kola. Seeing him always brought back memories she had tried so hard to forget. She had been so heartbroken when he left, and he had promised to send her letters, but the letters never came. Deep down, she knew she still loved him, but never was she going to let her guards down again. That thought still on her mind, she drifted off into a restless sleep, filled with nightmares. It took ages, but morning eventually came. Nkem got ready for the day and headed out before 8 a.m. It was going to be another long day, beginning with another interrogation session with Taiwo Balogun, Chief's son. When she reached the mansion, Musa was already there, waiting. She gave him a warm smile. Hello, Musa. You're early. Good morning, detective. I did not want to keep you waiting, Musa responded, returning her smile. Good, Nkem said as they stepped into the big compound. By the way, you did a very good job yesterday. I must commend you for that. Thank you very much, ma, Musa said, now grinning from ear to ear. Luckily for them, they did not have to wait at all, as Taiwo was just standing up from the breakfast table when they walked in. His demeanor became panicky when they entered, but he did his best to put on a bold front and wore his best smile. Ah, detective, to what do I owe this early morning visit? He asked cheerfully. Good morning to you too, Mr. Balogun, Nkem replied sarcastically, returning his smile. We are sorry to invade your space this early morning, but we need to ask you a few more questions. Taiwo took a seat in the living room where they stood. I already told you yesterday, I have nothing to do with his death, he said, his tone sharp. Without waiting for an invitation, they took their seats facing him, and Musa brought out a printed paper, handing it over to Taiwo. What do you have to say about this? He asked, their gaze remaining fixed on him. They got the reaction they wanted. The shock was evident in his face. This is not what it looks like, he stammered. Then tell me what it looks like, Mr. Balogun, Nkem chipped in. First, you lied yesterday. You said you just got back that morning, but apparently, you initiated this transfer a few hours after his death. Mr. Balogun, are you aware that your father cut you off his will? Yes, Taiwo replied calmly. this was not going to be as easy as he envisaged. "So how did you know this?" she questioned further. "I know because the old man has said it to my face countless times, and he never bluffs." "Interesting," Nkem said, nodding her head. "So, you find out that your father cut you off, then you kill him and transfer 30 million naira to your account." "I have said this over and over again. I did not kill him. Yes, I admit I lied. My father and I did not have the best relationship, and he had stopped giving me money. I was out with my friends, but I came home around past 2 a.m. As I walked past his study, I saw his door wide open, and his position looked awkward. Out of curiosity, I went in, and that was when I discovered he was dead. I panicked. I knew what his death meant for me, so I took his phone, and with his token, I transferred the money to my account. That's the honest truth." The detective remained silent for a while. Another dead end. But Nkem spoke up. "Do you realize that what you did is punishable?" she asked him. Taiwo looked up, his face determined. "If I were you," he said, sounding more composed, "I would focus elsewhere. Let me tell you this for free. My father was keeping a lot of secrets, and if you dig too deep, I assure you, you just might end up like him." The coldness in his voice sent a cold shiver down her spine. She looked at Musa, the both of them wondering if that was a warning or a threat. Hey lovers, if you got to this point, thank you for watching. I'm glad you're enjoying this story. Considering the technicalities of writing a story like this, I'll be posting this story in episodes. The next episode will be up very soon, so turn on your notification bell so that you will know when I post the next episode. And for easier accessibility, I'll create a special playlist for this series. That way you can catch up on all the episodes. If you're new here, welcome to our community. I hope you enjoyed listening to this story as much as I enjoyed creating it. To support the growth of our community, please like, share, and drop a comment. I wish you all a happy new month, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.